Hi, you again with Volleyball Explained and our podcast First Tempo. Today, I'm very glad to welcome in the podcast Alexander Tusch, the setter of the Austrian national team and the setter of Hebar Pazardzhik. Alex, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Let's start with some information about the start of your career. I made a podcast also with our compatriot and a teammate, Max Thaler. How did you start with volleyball? Because volleyball is for sure not the most popular, famous sport in Austria.
Yeah, like you said, in Austria, for sure, skiing or the winter sports are more famous, or even soccer. So, most of my companions, also in national team, we had a family background. So my parents both played volleyball in the first division of Austria. So also from when I was a little child, and me and my siblings, we went with them to tournaments and were just growing up next to the court. Of course, then I went to a soccer team when I was like 5-6 years old. But then with, 10, 11, I started in a club, and from there on, I became better and better. And eventually I went to, with like 15, 16, I came to the best club in Austria back then, to Hypothetical Innsbruck, where we played Champions League. And from there on out, I was able to play national team and abroad.
Yeah, and have you ever tried another sport different from volleyball?
Yeah, I played soccer till I was 15, 16. So, and I was not so bad. So I played in the 4th division in Austria. But then there was the chance to go to Innsbruck and to go professional. And I kind of liked the idea of having a chance to play for the Austrian national team, or it was farther away to be a professional soccer player than being a professional volleyball player. So I chose this path.
Yeah, of course, you started with playing in the Austrian league. You played also in Estonia, in Germany, but 2 years ago you played in Italy for the team of Padova. How is Italian volleyball different from the other leagues you have played? Because Italian leagues is one of the best leagues in the world. Yeah,
so I think the most important point in this discussion about why is Italy so great to play in is the fan, the culture. Volleyball is one of the most liked sports. We just saw it now in the VNL. The stadium is always full. The crowd is amazing, and volleyball is just it's a culture. it's a way of living in Italy, and so I think that's a huge reason why all of the best players wants to go to Italy. Of course, money is a reason, but not all of the clubs in Italy pay like the top teams. But still, just to have this experience to play in Italy is unbelievable.
And actually, you played there with some players who are very popular and some young players. For example, like Mattia Bottolo, who is now Italian national player, international player. Actually, he played yesterday in the semi-final in the VNL with Mattia Gottardo. They both will play for Lube Volley next year, and also with Danani, who is a very, very good Argentinian liberal, and also with Tonček Stern, I believe.
Yes, of course. No, it was a great team, actually, like great guys. And the first day I arrived, because I came a little bit later, because Kavika Shochi got injured. So they needed a substitution. So I came in the middle of the season, but it was a great group of guys. And from the first day on, I was like, man, these guys, especially the two Mattias, Gottardo and Bottolo, they are such talented players and well educated in all the volleyball skills. Was amazing.
Okay, let's go to your, let's say, Bulgarian period, who started last year in Neftochimic. How was you contacted by Neftochimic, and how the negotiations went back then?
So the first contact was with Nikolay Zhelyazkov, the coach back then. He was assistant coach in the national team, and we played with the Austrian national team in the qualifications for European Championships. I think in January or something. And he was also coach of our libero in Romania one time, and so we kind of started to talk, drank a coffee, and stayed in contact all over the rest of the season. And yeah, and then he just the negotiations through my manager and everything went really well. I had some private stuff I had to handle because my girlfriend was pregnant, so I wanted to be with my child, or like during the pregnancy wanted to help my girlfriend, and Neftochimic gave me the opportunity to travel back home and gave me some days off, also missing some games just to be there with my girlfriend and be there for my family. So I think that was one of the biggest plus points to go to Neftochimic. Plus also I heard a lot of good things of Zhelyazkov and also of Neftochimic, plus the experienced guys like Nikolov or Uchikov contacted me and we were talking. So I think from the start on, it was a good relation.
Did you receive an advice from Max Thaler, because he played in Montana another stint back in 2019, I believe, something like this?
Yeah, we talked. I asked how's the league, how is everything going there, how is the city. Especially for me, it was important that the city is nice to stay. No, he said Burgas is a nice place to stay, and the league, the level is really good for like all the young guys playing there. And even that there is the foreigner rule, it's a high level of volleyball. So there was always, yeah, he had only good things to say.
Yeah. And what do you think is the level of the Bulgarian league, and how did it develop for? I mean, you're one season here, but probably you had some impressions from what your compatriots said or something like this. What do you think is the level of the Bulgarian league?
I think it's pretty good. I think it's last season it was divided for sure in 3 groups, I would even say, or maybe 4, because Hebar was in their own group up there. And then it was, I think, 4 or 5 teams fighting for the second spot. Then 4 or 5 teams, and then the last 3 or 4 teams, they were not in the level like to get a competition. But in general, like when you play in these 8 to 10 teams, you never know. You have to play really well to win the game. You have to fight, especially when the spectators came back and when we had away games or something like this. I think the volleyball level is really good compared to some other leagues where you have more, well, let's say the marketing is better or they seem better, but the volleyball itself is really good.
Yeah, and you mentioned Nikolay Zhelyazkov several times. He's now the head coach of the Bulgarian national team. In your opinion, what are the specifics of Nikolay Zhelyazkov as a coach?
He for sure is a guy who wants to talk to everybody. He wants to keep everybody on the same page. Always tries to be like open-minded for new stuff. Let's us players give our opinions, but on the other hand also shows the strong hand as a head coach who has to make the decision. And for me personally, it was really helpful because he let us players play volleyball, and he dealt with the rest. Let's say all the organization, all the bad stuff. If there was something happening which was not should not concern us, he was always protecting us.
Yeah, you mentioned that Hebar was in another level. last year, and now you will play for Hebar. When did that offer come for you?
The negotiations started, I don't know when, after the finals for sure. The first talks were before, of course, because there is no time to lose for Hebar to know what's up. So I think during the season when we played against each other, I had some contact with the players there, and they were just feeling out if I would like to stay in Bulgaria. And yeah, and then at the end it was a great offer for me and for my family also. So yeah, now I'm happy to be in Hebar.
Yeah, and what do you think are the objectives of the teams? Because the team would have a very, very good roster. You're playing with Galats in the qualifiers for the Champions League, and of course, I could assume that the title, another title, will be an objective, a goal.
Yeah. So for me personally, I want to win titles now. That I lost every final with Neftochimic against Hebar. Now I want to be on the other side. So every championship, the cup, super cup, for sure is the goal. But the first step in the season is for sure the qualification for the group stage. And with Galats, it's going to be an interesting game because they are now also got a new opposite with the German Malesha, who came from German league, who is a good player also. So we will see. And of course, with this roster we have, not so much changes from last year, just me at the opposite, and also Nikolov came. So I think we are pretty strong, and I'm looking forward to meet the guys and start getting to know everybody and practice for the goals.
Yeah, you mentioned the new opposite, Simon Hirsch.
Yeah.
Another German speaking guy. How do you think this is going to help? Because you won't have an additional language barrier, even though most players of course can communicate in English like we do now, but probably that could help also that you're both German speaking native.
Yeah, especially that it's the connection opposite and setter. I think that will help us a lot, just to add these little small informations, the small details, how he likes to set, how I like to set, how the fast communication is going to be a lot easier when we both can speak our native language and don't have to switch up in English or Italian or something else. So that's going to be a huge plus.
And I would like to ask you a, let's say it in this way, tactical question, because also with Max Thaler, I talked about the problematics of rotation one, that attackers are reversed. What do you think about that? And on the other side, is there some situation rotation, let's say that it's more problematic to you due to some kind of reason?
I personally like the B1, of course, is always difficult when you play it the traditional way. But we saw now the last years in international volleyball that a lot of teams are changing, letting the opposite run on the other side, and to have everybody on their specific positions to spike the ball. For example, we in the national team, we are using the same system now. So B1, we are switching. Our opposite will run to the position 2, and then I don't think the B1 is any problem anymore. For me personally, I like if it's a tactical problem or a strategical problem is something else, but I don't like position 4, P4, because I have to run so far, and sometimes it's stressful when the services are coming with 120 kilometers per hour and you have to turn around and be ready for everything. So that's one of my feared positions. But in a tactical way, I don't see any positioning which is more difficult than the traditional P1.
Yeah, and finally, I would like to ask you, have you learned any Bulgarian words in order to communicate with your teammates?
I've learned some words, but I think those are not allowed to. I shouldn't say here. I think that's the traditional, like the classic way when you come in a new country, learn some words. It's always the bad words. But I actually we in the Neftochimic we had all our timeouts in Bulgarian, so I was just there trying to understand, and all these volleyball terms I understand. Now that I'm home or in Austria for like 3 or 4 months, I lost everything of it, but I think I will get it back. Yeah, I will try to get better in Bulgarian, of course.
Yeah, and I believe that actually in Hebar, Camilo Placci is talking in Italian. The season before, and yes, there will be different interaction in this regards in Hebar, I believe. So Alex, thank you again for accepting the invitation to be in the podcast, and I would like to wish you a lot of luck and success with Hebar during the next season.
Yeah, thank you for having me, and all the best to you too. Thank you.
Thank you, and to all the listeners and the spectators, thank you again for watching or listening to the podcast. I hope that you're going to do it the next time too. If you haven't subscribed for our YouTube channel, I hope that you're going to do it. And if you like our content, you can also support us in Patreon with the link in the description below. Thank you again, and until the next time. Bye-bye.